recognize in that scene? Probably Al Pacino, nominated for an Oscar in 1975 as Best Actor for his striking performance in Dog Day Afternoon. The other one, the one you may only vaguely recognize, is John Cazale, but giving a strong performance of his own. However, Cazale was not nominated for an Oscar. His superb performance was one of many great performances that Oscar has ignored. And great performances that Oscar has ignored is the topic we'll be exploring this time on Sneak Previews Take 2. This is Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. Now, nobody ever made the claim that the Academy Awards honor every great performance, or for that matter, that all Oscar winners gave great performances. And we're not claiming that the performances we're going to praise on this program should have won Oscars. What we are saying is that they were great performances, that they were overlooked, that in many cases the entire careers of these performers have been undervalued, and the credit is due. We'll be showing you scenes we admire starring Shelley Duvall in Three Women, Geneviève Bujold in Another Man, Another Chance, Martin Sheen in Badlands, Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange, Robert Mitchum in The Yakuza. And now Gene starts with John Cazale in Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah, none of them were nominated. Now, actor John Cazale died in 1978 at age 42 from cancer. He left behind him a legacy of superior supporting performances. He's probably best known, I guess, as Fredo, the goofy and spineless Corleone brother in The Godfather Parts 1 and 2. But in Dog Day Afternoon, in one of his finest performances, Cazale plays Al Pacino's buddy, helping to pull off a New York bank robbery to pay for a sex change operation for Pacino's homosexual lover. Pacino has all the flamboyant moments in the film, but John Cazale has his quietly chilling scenes, like when he engages in a conversation with one of the hostages inside the bank. Here we see the Cazale trademark, a nervous, slightly demented, but somehow innocent character who's fixated on petty details as a strategy for coping with the world. Cazale always strikes us as very real. He doesn't call attention to himself, but to the character he's playing. A very unselfish performer, John Cazale. Oscar ignored Cazale in 1975, but devoted movie fans will, I think, always remember him as one of the 70s finest actors.
He's very good in that scene, too, but it's kind of tricky how good he is, because a lot of actors, given that situation, probably would have done this. They would have shown kind of coolness on the surface, as he does, with a lot of anger and tension seething underneath. This guy's got a gun, he's keeping a hostage. He doesn't do that. He's got the coolness on the surface, and then somehow we sense that underneath, he's passive. There's an emptiness there. It's as if he's not all there, and that's scarier.
Yes.
If I were that hostage, I think I'd feel better about a guy who had a gun on me if the guy were as nervous as I was. He isn't. And so that's an interesting acting choice there.
I agree. And, you know, this is a guy who made a lot of them during the decade, and they were all ignored by Oscar. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, playing Fredo, the weakling, the one weakling in the macho family, the deer hunter, another weakling with strong Robert De Niro against him, and yet we notice him, as weak as his characters are, we always notice him. Now that's the mark of a terrific actor. Oscar ignored John Cazale.
Right. Here's an actress that Oscar has ignored. Shelley Duvall was a student in Texas when Robert Altman discovered her in 1969, gave her a role in Brewster McCloud. She was a skinny, gangly young woman whose offbeat good looks took some getting used to, and Altman gave us a chance to do that by starring Duvall in a series of movies including McCabe and Mrs. Miller, Thieves Like Us, and Nashville. But she got her best role in Altman's difficult and haunting 1977 film, Three Women. She plays a young physical therapist in the Southwest, insecure, boy crazy, occupying a lifestyle that's dedicated to using the hints for decorating, dining, dressing, and getting dates from the pages of Cosmopolitan and Better Homes and Gardens. Now, in this scene, she's heading home to prepare for a dinner party with her roommate, Sissy Spacek. That's really nice, the way she descends through the various levels of being crushed. Shelley Duvall's performance in Three Women looks like a slice of life, but it presented a difficult challenge for any actress. She was trying for two different effects there. On one level, we're supposed to be amused by her parody of the perfect suburban hostess, but on another level, there's a real poignancy in her reaction to that disappointment, because somehow we know this isn't the first time she's been rejected like that. Shelley Duvall won the Best Actress Award at the Cannes Film Festival for Three Women, and she deserved it. It's a very subtle, difficult performance.
I noticed something she has in common with Cazale's performance in Dog Day Afternoon. They're both quiet. They're smart enough to be quiet, and a great thing happens when an actor has the courage to be quiet in a performance. We rush up to the screen because they give us time to get there and get inside their mind. When they're always yelling at us, it's always we stay in our own ears. This way, We really get to them.
You know, but it's very hard to describe a performance like that in print or on television. I feel a lot of frustration. I have the language to talk about direction, editing, photography. When it comes to acting, sometimes I feel inarticulate. I don't know how to describe exactly what it is that I'm looking at and admiring.
Critics do a lousy job of talking about acting. It's sort of mysterious to us. I asked George C. Scott once how he judges acting. He gave me a good 3-part test, he said. So I use that. The 3 parts, he said, number 1, who dominates, the actor or the character they're playing? Basically, it should be the character that they're playing. We don't want to know who's doing it. We just want to see that character. Number 2, he said, there are only a basic few emotions, anger, fear, love, hate, that kind of stuff. What choices does the actor make to show those very basic emotions? Test number 3, he said, a very tough thing, a joy of performing quality. While the actor is staying in character, while they're coming up with sophisticated choices to show common emotions, while they're doing all that, do they let the audience know in some silent way that they are enjoying and have joy performing in front of them? Burt Reynolds is doing that very well now with sort of a secret smile.
No, I think you asked the right actor when you asked George C. Scott. I think a lot of actors, even really good actors, would be fairly inarticulate in trying to describe what it is they do when they're doing it right or when they're doing it wrong. So Scott's 3 laws, right?
We'll refer
for
to
the
them.
rest of the show. Okay.
When we talk about important actresses, the same names always come up. Barbra Streisand, Jane Fonda, Jill Clayburgh, Diane Keaton, lately Meryl Streep. I want to add one more actress to that important list, an actress who Oscar regularly overlooked in the 70s, a French-Canadian actress, Geneviève Bujold. She was nominated for a performance in 1969 in Anne of a Thousand Days, but in the next 10 years, not a single nomination. I think she deserved a nomination for the offbeat 1977 love story, Another Man, Another Chance. Bujold plays the widow of a French photographer who set up shop in the old American West. After he's killed, she meets James Caan. She's just great there, rearranging her hair. You know, on one level, that hat represents her late husband. On another level, the hat sort of represents her emotions. When she's fixing up her hair and straightening herself out, she's also trying to straighten out her emotions, which are really twisted. She's trying to be true to the memory of her late husband, the hat, but she's also turned on by James Caan. And so there's that push-pull. Very interesting little performance there. I've always liked Geneviève Bujold. I even liked her in a small scene she had with Charlton Heston in the dumb film Earthquake. She's always beguiling. We always root for her. Remember her in Coma? A very attractive actress whom Oscar has ignored.
And, you know, this is the sort of scene where you're tempted to say, well, she doesn't have much to do, but she has a lot to do, and she has a lot of fun doing it. You talk about when she's adjusting her hat. In a sense, she's being prim, getting that hair out of the way. At the same time, she's also flirting with him, and she's having so much fun doing that. George C. Scott's point number 3, the joy of acting, I guess.
When that horse whinnies, I saw her smile like that.
Right. She's really playing with that back and forth, and she's having a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. It's good acting. Another actor who's very good at suggesting great depths of trouble and tension is Martin Sheen, the taciturn star of last year's Apocalypse Now. And one of Sheen's best performances, though, was in a 1973 movie named Badlands. He plays a character inspired by Charles Starkweather, a real-life murderer who went on a killing spree out west in the 1950s. And in this scene from Badlands, Martin Sheen is about to get out of town with his teenage girlfriend, played by Sissy Spacek, who just a few moments ago was Shelley Duvall's roommate in Three Women. Her father tries to stop them. It's frightening to think that the character is acting like that just a few moments after committing murder. That kind of cool and almost rigid self-control is scarier than if Sheen had played a mad dog killer type. He suggests great depths to the character, great angers boiling beneath that just a regular guy kind of surface. Sheen was very good playing that same kind of character in Apocalypse Now, but I think he's never given a better performance than he did in Badlands.
He's a fine actor, and you know, you talk about George C. Scott's first point, which dominates the character of the actor. Sheen, in that role, in all of his roles, it's always the character we notice. I don't have a clue as to who this guy really is, the guy named Martin Sheen. I just know his characters. Really, he's terrific.
You know, that's also the case in Apocalypse Now. He's the guy that goes upriver in the boat. All these amazing things happen to him, and he keeps that unruffled surface that's very necessary for that character. And it's a funny thing, having seen him in Apocalypse Now, Badlands, The Subject Was Roses, if I were to go interview Martin Sheen, I wouldn't know who to expect. I wouldn't know what kind of a guy to think that he really was.
Okay. The next performance that Oscar overlooked really astounds me. It's one of the finest performances of the 70s, Malcolm McDowell in Stanley Kubrick's film, A Clockwork Orange. It's about a society of the future trying to control violence. McDowell plays a futuristic street punk who enjoys kicking the stuffing out of old men and roughing up women. Now, what's remarkable about McDowell in A Clockwork Orange is his range of emotion, from a domineering gang leader to a whimpering, brainwashed victim of mind control. First, we see him as the gang leader, beating his buddies into submission. A terrific performance, but I think I know why this performance was ignored by Oscar. In any film by Stanley Kubrick, pictures like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Barry Lyndon, It's the film and Kubrick's direction of it, not the actor, that is the star. McDowell was overshadowed by Kubrick, the director, and Oscar, in the process, ended up ignoring an impressive piece of acting.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's true of critics, too, with a director like Kubrick who controls every aspect of his film totally from beginning to end. We say, Stanley Kubrick's 2001. Think quick. Who starred in it? A little hard to remember, isn't it?
Gary Lockwood?
And Keir Dullea, right, but we were just thinking of it. You think of it as a Kubrick film. The only other director like that I can think of is Alfred Hitchcock, who was so much in control of the whole production that even though he uses some of Hollywood's top stars, they don't necessarily win their Oscar nominations for a Hitchcock film. People think of, oh, that was Hitchcock's film. That wasn't Cary Grant, or that wasn't Ingrid Bergman.
You're right. One of the things that McDowell does in the film is so well is simply survive it. He's got a lot to do in the picture. He stomps on people. He gets stomped on himself. He almost is drowned in one sequence. It's a remarkable physical piece of acting. He's in virtually every scene. A superior performance.
Here's another good one. One of the most consistently underrated actors of the last 30 years, period, is Hollywood veteran Robert Mitchum. Now, he gets credit here and there. People say, oh, yeah, Mitchum's a good actor, and yet he's never won an Oscar, and I believe he's never had the recognition that he deserves. Now, look at Mitchum, for example, in this scene from The Yakuza, a 1975 film in which he plays an American who goes back to Japan and visits the woman he fell in love with 20 years ago. Notice how much quiet authority Robert Mitchum brings to the role. To me, that's the quintessential Robert Mitchum moment. Alone on the street, lit from above, a lonely horn on the soundtrack. The movie is about how he goes back to Japan and takes on the Japanese mafia and tries to get his old love back again. And I've noticed something about Mitchum in a lot of his movies that's true only of the greatest movie stars. No matter who else is in a scene, no matter what's happening, if Mitchum is on the screen, we just can't help but watch him. He holds the screen as very few actors ever have.
I agree, and I think I know why he holds the screen. I think he holds it with his chest and with his face. That chest is like an ice box. Same kind of chest John Wayne had, inspires confidence. We're drawn to that very attractive figure. And also, that face, because everything is on that face. Every day he's lived, it seems, is on that face. Remarkable actor.
Well, you might think the face, for example, in this movie, the Yakuza, might look so lined and experienced because he did it in his 50s, but I saw a movie the other day called Out of the Past that he did with Kirk Douglas 30 years ago, and the experience is already there in his face. I guess he must have learned it all in that chain gang that he says he spent his teen years in. I don't know. But when he says he's done something in a movie, you not only believe he did it, you almost think he invented it.
What can we say about all 6 performances? I think one thing they have in common is, by and large, they're very quiet performances, with the actors, through their being quiet, drawing up into their minds up on the screen. So that's one thing I think that they all have in common.
How do you think these performances fit in with George C. Scott's 3 laws that you were talking about?
Well, I think in one case, we remember the characters. They're all very special characters.
And also, I think you get to feel a lot of joy of acting in some of these performances. People who really seem to be...
That's Mitchum, I think, more than anyone else. There's that... He knows who he is. He knows how cool he is.
You know, there's something else about these movies that we probably ought to point out. Most of them didn't make very much money, and the Academy Awards, generally speaking, the nominations go to movies that were box office successes. If you don't have a big hit on your hands, it really doesn't matter in many cases.
The best example of that, I think, is Gene Hackman in The Conversation. If I had to pick one overlooked performance that's really a knockout, Gene Hackman, The Conversation, ignored completely.
Another great performance, James Caan in The Gambler, was a very good performance.
And I'm thinking of Richard Dreyfuss. You know, I know he won for The Goodbye Girl, but years earlier in The Apprenticeship at Duddy Kravitz, I think he was as good.
Very good.
Not even nominated. Also, Robert Redford in The Candidate.
Also, Robert Redford in The Downhill Racer. But we could go on all night. But that's it for this program of great performances of the 1970s that Oscar overlooked.